Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe during this time. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Like I said, thank you so much for checking me out. If you haven't done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button just right below the video. Cool, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thanks again for your support. I truly do appreciate having you here.
I trust capital. The only thing better than buying crypto is buying tax-free crypto. And you can do that right here with a crypto IRA, the best in the business, in fact. And we're about to look at some Metaverse news. And by the way, there are Metaverse tokens, if you like that you can get tax-free with your IRA, like Mana, and I believe Axie Infinity as well, and some others. So make sure you check them out. And let's take a look at this first piece of news this morning here. It is Dragon J right here who shares this. It's the picture of the Metaverse on Decentraland, and look at this. Ripple and Coinbase look like they have an office. Yeah, and so does Carbon Horizon. Pretty interesting stuff here going on. Now, I don't know what it all really means, but, you know, again, I don't want to play in the Metaverse. I'm 50 years old. I don't play games. My game is a game called life and how wealthy I can make my family. That's the game I'm playing, right? And I don't apologize for that game. That's the game I'm playing. And the game I'm playing is I like this high-risk crypto space. And you know what? I'll be investing in the Metaverse. I already invest in Decentraland. And guess who else does? It's JP Morgan, the largest bank in the U.S., has become the first bank ever to enter the Metaverse. The bank has purchased a lounge in Decentraland. Yeah, that makes me happy. Yeah, this doesn't, though. Yeah, this is Elizabeth Warren tells Gary Gensler that she will do everything in her power to help her buddy Gary Gensler when he asked Congress for help about crypto. But scolds FSOC Nellie Liang weeks later, how dare you ask the Congress for help? Do your job when they seek the same guidance for crypto. That's exactly what's going on here, Crypto Dash. You know what's going on. I just want to give you, and I played these clips and shared these clips in my video yesterday, but I want to give you the one that really sums it up here. Because this is exactly what Elizabeth Warren is doing. She was asked for help from Gary Gensler, and now she's demanding that FSOC, which does have the ability to deem things systemically important because of financial risk to the system before the moment takes place, which is true, but as a politician, Elizabeth Warren also understands that if an appointee in an agency takes control and does the things we want them to do and it doesn't go well, we can continue to point the finger because Elizabeth Warren, that's her greatest skill, is to play gotcha and point fingers while she flies on private jets and things of that nature. Right? And then claims she's so all of this and all of that, right? Which I love flying private. I wouldn't apologize for that either. But nevertheless, the point is that Elizabeth Warren knows that she is an elected official. And she wants to push to make sure that somebody like Nellie Liang and everybody at FSOC are the ones in charge of getting this done so they can sit back in their ivory tower and hopefully not lose an election by what does get done. And I'm also sure that they've submitted what they want done and they want FSOC to do the bidding for it. Take a listen here.
I'm asking about FSOC because I don't want monitoring to be a way to just avoid doing your job.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it starts off with I'm asking about FSOC because I don't want your monitoring to be a way for you to avoid doing your job. I mean, listen who's saying that. It's Congress. You know, they always avoid doing their job.
In your testimony before the House Financial Services last week, you suggested that FSOC should not and would not act ahead of Congress. That's something the crypto industry might find comforting, but it is not consistent with FSOC's mission. Did you misstate something last week?
So what I intended to say, I did see that, is FSOC has a responsibility to look at the tools it has.
Well, not just to look, but to use.
It can apply. And the situation is developing very quickly. And so how different tools would apply is a bit difficult to prejudge how they would be used.
Okay, but you are willing to use them ahead of Congress?
If that is the case and is assessed that they are a systemic risk that needs to be addressed.
Well, not that they are a systemic risk. Remember what it says on the website.
Remember what it says on the website. This kind of condescending approach to speaking to people.
Before that risk has reached fruition. You know, I worry that you're approaching the crypto market with blinders on. You talk a lot about the benefits of stable coins, benefits that have been promised for years and that have still not materialized. And all the while, you're not talking about the risks that are flashing bright red in our faces here. Congress needs to put guardrails around crypto, and I'm writing a bill to do just that. But there's no reason to delay. Pointing a finger at Congress does not give you or FSOC the right to ignore your current statutory responsibilities.
My goodness, I mean, you talk about being browbeat here. Look, I mean, here's one thing I would say to this. You know, it is absolutely, unequivocally false what she is saying. Congress, in fact, could put out legislation that categorizes crypto like the Token Taxonomy Act. And then FSOC could then go forward understanding what would classify as a stable coin or a utility coin or a cryptocurrency. So what she is saying here is absolutely unequivocally false, because you still have the responsibility on FSOC to determine, well, what constitutes a stable coin? Because that really hasn't been legally defined either. So this is really politics at its highest order here. It really, really is. But you know what? If you're a CEO like Danelle Dixon here of the Stellar Foundation, you got to remain positive no matter what kind of stuff you're watching take place in front of you. The burst of energy in D.C. around stablecoins is encouraging, she says. From the hearing to new proposals, we are seeing bipartisan focus and willingness to engage on the opportunities stablecoins can unlock and the risk we need to consider in order to get this right. This type of activity is exactly what we want to see. People are asking the right questions, like what are the benefits that this technology brings, not just highlighting risk, and looking how to codify the key terms so we're all operating with the same understanding. Don't get me wrong, We still have a long way to go, but I'm optimistic DC will continue to engage with industry and drive towards the clear and smart rules of the road we need for the industry to really thrive. And you know what? That is really, talk about glass half full, right? Well, here's something right here that may mean something to all of us sooner rather than later. You know, I don't normally cover politics, but this really does come down to you being in control of your identity, you being in control of your money and your assets, and not having the government have access to them, because it's exactly the kind of thing that has happened to people in Canada. For those of you who are not aware, very quickly here, Canada has really decided to, in an emergency measure, to freeze, an emergency act, to freeze or suspend bank accounts without a court order or be protected from civil liability, because they're having protests up there. And I'm not going to go into that. I think everybody may be aware of that. But the reality is, it's like, you're freezing citizens' money. Sorry, that don't work for me. That dog don't hunt, is the way we used to say it where I came up. U.S. Congressman Warren Davidson thinks the same way, reacting to the current situation in Canada. He's recently introduced the KYC Act, playing off of the Know Your Customer Act, but it's called Keep Your Coins Act, to protect private Bitcoin and crypto usage in this country. Specifically, it prohibits federal agencies from interfering with the right to self-custody and to transact peer-to-peer. It restricts their ability to ban self-hosted cryptocurrency wallets. I tell you what, Warren Davidson, I am really liking you a lot, and I liked you before, my man. In Canada, things are looking bad for freedom. The government reduced the legitimacy of all crowdfunding platforms by prohibiting them to give Canadian truck drivers the money people donated, and then it got worse. As X Strategies, Greg Price puts it, Canada's Deputy Prime Minister says under the Emergency Act, banks can immediately freeze or suspend bank accounts without a court order and be protected from civil liability. That's a problem at my house. Now, I don't care what it's about, but you gotta let freedom ring sometimes, whether you like it or not. I mean, there's too much of this canceling culture going on in the world, and I don't subscribe to one side or another. I'm a human being, and this is just flat out wrong. So I hope Warren Davidson gets some traction with this bill, and until he does, this is why I have a cold storage wallet with Ledger. Okay? I can buy, sell, and trade and put it all right into my cold storage wallet without anybody having access to it but me. Let's take a look and change gears now, because yesterday Gary Gensler appeared on Fox News, and he was extremely evasive, ladies and gentlemen, extremely evasive. I'm going to skip the section about BlockFi and the Super Bowl, because it was all meaningful, by the way, and shout out to Liz Clayman for the interview. But I'm going to take you to a section here where we start, where he's going to talk about ETFs, and I want to highlight something before he goes on, and he is asked about XRP versus Ethereum. Take a listen.
What's really important is these underlying markets, Bitcoin and the other markets, the underlying cash markets, are trading on exchanges, and those exchanges, I continue to say, come in, work with the SEC, register under the securities laws. It's probability weighted, but you've got 75 or 500 or thousands of tokens on your platform, it's pretty unlikely none of them are securities. So we did this working with BlockFi, trying to find a path forward and protect the investors at the same time.
But here's where I get confused. If you're comfortable with a futures ETF on Bitcoin, why are you not comfortable with a spot ETF for the underlying security of the futures ETF?
Listen what he says.
So let me just walk through a little bit. The staff looked at this very closely over a number of years, actually, and Bitcoin futures that you referenced, trading on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. That Chicago Mercantile Exchange has had a regulated market since 2017 by our sibling agency, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, an agency I was once proud to chair. So you should know, I think really well of the CFTC. So that's part of that framework. We don't have that framework for the underlying cash market at this time.
He literally just gave the nod to the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, because that is a regulated exchange. What Gary Gensler is saying, if you want me to approve an ETF, spot ETF, or futures ETF outside of the CME, then you better have the exchanges that are not registered with the SEC come see me, because you're not getting one until you do. And if you do want one, apparently you better have the CME put it and apply for it, because they're already in the regulated framework. So why hasn't the CME applied for a spot ETF? You know, let's keep listening because it just gets even worse. Here we go.
Okay, I want to move on to a lawsuit that the SEC has filed with against Ripple XRP. And again, without commenting on specifics, because I know you don't, what's the SEC's theory on certain elements of the crypto world that are considered securities, which would subject them to the SEC's stricter purview, versus currencies which are not held to that kind of purview?
So it's pretty straightforward, actually, is that in the 1930s, after the collapse of the markets and the public getting defrauded, there was a basic bargain, and Congress wrote with a very broad brush the definition of security. And they included like 32 different terms. And amongst those terms, the conceptual framework was the public investing money, anticipating profits on the efforts of others. And the Supreme Court in the 1940s and multiple times since then have had the same approach. My predecessor, Jay Clayton, said it as well as I could say it, that in looking at these tokens, it's rare to find one that isn't doing that. The public is investing, hoping for a profit based on the efforts of some other group.
Here we go.
Okay, but that's with any investment. There is that caveat emptor, buyer beware element to all of the stock market. What confuses a lot of people, Gary, and if you could really clarify here, is, where do you draw the line, the distinction between what is a security and what is an actual currency? Example A, what Ripple did, selling XRP to build out its underlying blockchain network, no different than example B, Ethereum floating an ICO, a coin offering to help its underlying Ethereum blockchain. There is no difference, a lot of people say.
So Liz, you started by saying you weren't going to ask me about specific cases, and so if I can help the audience.
Example A, example B.
Yeah.
He goes on to deflect here, and this is a huge problem, ladies and gentlemen, because Ethereum, in fact, did an initial coin offering, and there has been no penalty. The problem here, whether it's Jay Clayton or William Hindman or Gary Gensler, it doesn't matter. There is an inconsistency here that must be addressed. I am really imploring all of you to come together and let's tag the SEC politely and professionally and respectfully. Why has the SEC not called for a public audit of Ethereum's initial coin offering, for which we know has obviously got some huge problems? This should be something that the SEC and Gary Gensler should be able to answer to, because it doesn't deal with the case. Do not reference XRP. We're talking about asking the simple question: will you, Gary Gensler, and the SEC call for a public audit of Ethereum's initial coin offering, for which we know Joseph Lubin has explained to investors in Wales that you can disguise your identity? Just this call to action, I'm telling you, has to be addressed. For one, I can tell you there's an even deeper question. Why hasn't that due diligence on the SEC been done already? Look, Charles Gasparino knows what's going on, and Charles Gasparino calls out exactly what's happening here. Take a look right here. He is on fire here. He recognizes exactly what's taking place. And I want you to hear Charles Gasparino say it. Now, he's going to go from one conversation talking about AMC into XRP. Listen how it unfolds here.
And this is potentially huge. I know the market's up today. It's taking a breather, and I know AMC is off its lows. It was as low as $15 or $14 a share. It's at $18, $19 now. But it's down 80% from its highs. And if it goes down to $10 a share, which it really could if the Fed starts tightening, if it does 50 basis points, people are going to say, where was the investor protection? And I'll tell you, these esoteric things. I mean, did Ripple's unregistered XRP really hurt anybody? No!
Well, Charlie, hold on. The one thing that I thought was really important here, number one, I did try very hard to push him on what is the difference between what Ethereum is versus Ripple XRP. You know,
that's so pathetic that is so pathetic he punted on that. He is taking a case that he was handed by Jay Clayton, the SEC chair under Trump. He's pushed it forward as aggressively or more aggressively than Jay Clayton did. It has literally, what was done on Ripple is not that much contextually or materially different than what Ether did.
Okay.
Why is one okay and not the other? It's mind-boggling that he continues. By the way, he continues to sidestep that.
And let me just finish one thing.
There you go, and it really is pathetic. And I tell you, there needs to be some accountability. You know, there's all of this SEC approach, Gary Gensler approach about bringing accountability to the digital asset space. How about some accountability from the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler? Answer the question. Don't talk about the case that you can't talk about. Answer the question for all of us. Why hasn't the SEC done a public audit on Ethereum's initial coin offering? And will you today call for a public audit on the initial coin offering of Ethereum? Because we absolutely know that there were people who invested that disguised their identity in order to invest. And I have a sneaky suspicion it was for the sole purpose to make Ethereum look like it was a decentralized investment.
I'm your guy. I will keep you posted. I'm your advocate. I'll be back on a daily basis, usually multiple times per day, with these videos to keep you updated with everything going on. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to share any of my videos with your friends, family, social media, or anybody who may care to listen. Thanks so much for your continued support. I'm always here for you. I want to help you through this time. So thank you so much for continuing to choose me. Enjoy your day, stay safe, and I'll catch you again probably in a couple hours. Thanks, everybody. See you later.